Okay, broadcast number 4 of Two Non-Critics. I have to apologize up front. I am in the Northeast, which has been getting periodically hammered with snow, and my internet connection is ridiculously slow. But I've got nothing better to do, so if anybody watches this, I apologize. So, Two Non-Critics. I am non-critic Dustin. With me from beautiful Hawaii, which is not being pelted down with horrendous snow, is
Non-critic will.
and today we're going to talk about about Will's Choice, and because as I say every show, we're two lifelong friends and movie buffs with very different tastes, and we wanted to share movies with each other that we think the other would be interested in. Today is non-critic Will's Choice, and what is it, sir? And why did you pick it?
The movie I picked for this week is called God Bless America. It's a 2011 dark comedy film by Bobcat Goldthwait, I believe.
Goldway. Yeah,
Goldthwait.
Goldway.
um, if you remember, he was one of the characters in Police Academy. Um,
He also set the Tonight Show on fire a couple of years ago.
yeah, that was really bad. But I chose this movie because, like said in earlier earlier broadcasts, is that I just search random movies that have some appeal to me. I just read what the plot is, and then I just go. I just think, maybe this might be something that maybe worth watching. So I'm not going to do the summary of this. This time I'm going to actually have non-critic Dustin explain what God Bless America is about.
Okie doke. So yes, God Bless America is a dark comedy by Bobcat Goldthwait. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. And it is essentially a film starring Joel Murray, Bill Murray's younger brother, one of his brothers, as Frank, who's a man who lives in Syracuse, not too far from myself, who's just fed up with everything. He's fed up with the fact that America rewards mediocrity, not even mediocrity, that America rewards failure and celebrates it. And the whole notion of celebrity, and that people don't have conversations. In fact, they just talk about pop culture. Ironic that we're talking about this on a show where we review movies, but oh well. And so he gets fed up. And after he realizes that these migraines he's been having are related to a tumor in his brain, a large one that it's just as deadly to keep it there as it would be to remove it. He loses all hope. He's about to kill himself, then sees the brattiest teenager in the world on one of those My Sweet 16 type shows, and decides, what the hell, I'm going to kill her before I die. And that sets him off on a killing spree, where he and the 16-year-old girl named Roxy, who went to the school as the teenager with that he killed, they go and they kill people who they think deserve it. And that is essentially the plot. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I think it does something. There's two amazing things. One is it manages to tell a completely ridiculous, twisted, dark movie that you should not enjoy with a lot of tenderness to it and a lot of actually genuine relationship growth. So you're caring about what's happening while being repulsed by it at the same time, and that's something that does not happen often. And when it pulls it, and if a movie does it right, it's really, really something to behold. Also, the other thing it does, that just for me personally, it has the best use that I've ever seen of Alice Cooper music. I have been a lifelong Alice Cooper fan my whole life. His show is still the best show I've ever seen, and they use one of my favorite Alice Cooper songs that I never ever hear anywhere, which is "Hello Hooray." in this really interesting and kind of surreal dream sequence, and that enough won me over. And also a really hilarious use of "School's Out," and so that was awesome. So those are my initial thoughts.
Well, happy you enjoyed it. First off, um, when I initially saw the movie, it's one of those where it puts you in shock, but you can't help but to continue watching. There's with every movie that anybody watches, there's a certain part in that movie that will hook you and will make you continue to want to watch it. So there was something, I'm not gonna say what it is, but there's something at the beginning that was disturbing, shocking, but it had me hooked because then I had to see what was coming next.
Right.
And throughout the movie,
like this, that's sorry, but in a movie like this, that's important because for such a zany sort of weird movie, you have to do something at the beginning that says either you're going to stick with this or you're not. And I heard Bobcat Goldthwait on the Nerdist podcast where he talked about that. He says in all of his movies, he does something within the first 10 minutes that says, "Are you in or are you out? You're going to stick with this or what?" And I think that's something that's important. And not enough movies do that. They don't throw something at you in the beginning that says, "This is what this movie is, so you either stick with it or you go away."
A lot of movies nowadays.
People a lot of time if they did that.
Because a lot of movies nowadays, they like to just go into something really subtle. They like to everybody that makes movies wants to take the subtle approach. They want to slowly bring you into the feel that they have, the setting, the main characters, his or drive, what brings them to do what they do. They want to go slow and like build up to a big crescendo, if you will. But the way Bobcat did it, he kind of just pretty much said "fuck it" and just hit you with the big picture right then and there, just to get you hooked. And then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna bring everything in.
Well, I think so. I don't think that is so much that a lot of films today are more subtle, because that's not a word I would apply to most films nowadays. Actually, I usually complain that movies today aren't subtle enough, and like they don't have that slow build-up that you're talking about. I think the problem, at least from what I've noticed, but we watch different movies. So the thing that I've noticed with a lot of, let's say, action movies or even horror movies or whatever the hell kind of movie this is they get boom into the plot right away, and they don't establish a tone. And tone is very, very important in filmmaking. And that's the important thing with this movie, is that what happens in the first 5 minutes of this movie establishes a tone. And that tone is, this is going to be weird, it's going to be a little extreme, and you're probably going to laugh uncomfortably a lot. So are you in or are you out?
There's going to be some tears afterwards.
Right. So it's like some shit's going to go down in this movie. And I don't think enough movies do that. But anyway, continue.
But as I watched the movie all the way through, it was just shocking moment after shocking moment for me. But you start getting used to it, so then you just start guessing what's going to happen next. The way the movie picked off, and then how he met up with the character Roxy, who, by the way, she's one of those characters that enjoys killing. Her character was said to enjoy everything that they were doing and actually encouraged it more than the main character Frank did. Mm-hmm. Even gave a bullshit story that her parents were abusive. Her mom was a psycho drug addict, and her stepdad was a rapist, or molested her and raped her. Mm-hmm. Which was, she just brought some type of story out so she can go along for the ride. Just go along for the ride, stay with him, and go on this adventurous killing spree all around the country. So um, I like that movie too. It was something I don't usually watch, but like I said, I'm just trying to get out of my comfort zone and just watch different things. It had some appeal to me. I ran with it, and I did like it, even though it was a little disturbing. Um, it brought my mind outside of the box usually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not your typical fare when it comes to movies, and I think if you watch this movie and you don't relate to Frank, Joe Murray's character, then there is something seriously wrong with you. Now, a lot of people may say, if you relate to this crazy man who goes around killing people, there's something wrong with you.
yeah,
And I don't relate to the killing that he does. I
Psycho.
relate to his rantings about television. I relate to his just kind of his demeanor when he's
Yeah.
at work. Like the scene, my favorite scene in this movie happens about 15 minutes, no, probably about 10 minutes into it, where he's at work. And he's sharing a cubicle with that guy. I work in a very similar setting myself.
Yeah.
And they're talking about that guy who was on American Superstars, which is the version of American Idol.
Yeah.
And everything he says, he's like, hey, did you see that guy in American Superstars? And his rationalization for everything, which is America's exploitation of people who aren't all there in the head, is, hey, it's funny, man. Come on, bro, it's funny. Like, I cannot tell you how often I hear people who are just like, hey, bro, it's funny. And if I'm like, no, it's not, they're like, well, you don't get it. You just don't get it. Because if you got it, you'd laugh. Like, no, I get it. It's just not fucking funny. Like, it's just, like, I got in not an argument, but I got in a discussion about Family Guy at work once. And people are like, oh, you just don't get the offensive humor. I'm like, okay, what? Like, my favorite show when I was 10 was South Park. I was there the day that show aired. I think I'm okay with offensive humor. The thing is, Family Guy, they're easy jokes. They're jokes that work as just an easy, quick laugh. And I don't find that funny anymore. I did when I was a teenager, but now I'm like, there's no point to, why is that funny? Why is that even in this show? Why is this here? It has no context. I'm like, well, you just don't get it, man. You just don't get it. I'm like, no, I get it. It's just fucking retarded. Sorry, I didn't even use that word. I'm trying not to use that word. It's offensive. I don't want to be offensive.
Somebody's getting a little upset here.
Right. No, so I related to him with that, and I related to this generic BS that people feed you about, oh, it's, whatever, it's just entertainment, it's just funny, it's just, you still get it. All right, whatever. And I'm repeating myself, and I'm sure you all get it. So. But that's what I related to. I would never go out and kill people. I don't agree with a lot of his politics, but but I watched it and I felt like, man, I feel this dude's pain. I wouldn't go about it this way, but I totally feel his pain, man. And that's what took me in.
Non-critic Dustin is not a psycho. Just to repeat that, he's not a psycho.
Nope.
He's not playing. Doesn't have bombs in his basement. Okay, so calm down. It's okay.
No. But it's so that's. I mean, did you find yourself relating to him at all?
I did.
Or am I just
No, you're not wacko. I find myself relating to him as well, because just the way that society is built up today, that we take so much pride in the dumbest shit. We just take so much pride in it, and we enjoy people's pain more than their triumph. So I definitely understood where he was coming from, with just wanting to do something, to bring about justice, his own sense of justice. I actually understand what he was trying to do. Just he did it in a way that was not so great, but in his mind, it was the right answer. Everybody has their own opinion. So his was, fuck it, I'm gonna kill all these sons of bitches that are just wasting away, just taking advantage of everything they can. Well, taking advantage of people's misfortunes and giving so much praise and joy in the pain and the hurt of others. So I'm gonna fucking kill him. That's his mindset.
Yeah, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that he would come to that conclusion, but at that point he thinks he has nothing left. He thinks he's dying. So he thinks, why not go for it? Like I was looking up on IMDb, and I try to avoid message boards at all costs. But I was just scrolling down the IMDb page, and at the bottom, all these posts were about how this movie's contradictory. I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point of the movie. It's like I think even this Frank guy knows what he's doing is ridiculous, but he just doesn't know what else to do, and it's the only way he can cope with what he's doing. And they're saying, well, he hates rude and judgmental people, but he's rude and judgmental for saying that they deserve to die and all that. I'm like, are we seriously having this conversation about this movie? This movie is okay. To me, Bobcat Goldthwait is a stand-up comedian. He's a hilarious stand-up comedian. I mean, he's also a filmmaker and an actor. But he does his stand-up is hilarious, and this feels like a stand-up routine that became a movie because so many of his rants sound like the essence of a stand-up routine. Because that's what stand-up comedians do. They observe the stupidity in the world and they comment on it. And so people are like, oh, this movie is tedious and boring and preachy. It's like, it's not preachy. He's just observing things and commenting. There's a difference. Something preachy is like a war is wrong type of movie. Of course, war is wrong. But if you're sitting there and you're trying to show all the disgust, like you're being exploitated, you're exploiting how terrible war is and everything, that is preachy to me. What he's doing is just observing and commenting. And it also, one of my favorite things about this movie is it takes this idea that everyone, you know how everybody, again, ironic being that we're broadcasting this live on YouTube and nobody knows who we are. But there's this sense of entitlement in society. Every single person in society feels they're entitled to greatness just because they exist. And I am surrounded by it all the time, and they all have an opinion, and they all say, well, I'm entitled to my opinion. I'm going to quote Harlan Ellison on this, the great Harlan Ellison. No, you're not. You're entitled to your informed opinion. Everything else is just farts in the wind. Like if you're just blowing hot air because you're regurgitating something you heard on the news, or you're making a comment on celebrity gossip that you read in a celebrity gossip magazine. That's not your opinion. You're consuming something and you're throwing it up. You're pop culturally bulimic, essentially. And so I love that this movie has that scene where his neighbors are talking about Michael Jackson. And they're defending Michael Jackson, and they're saying stuff about Lindsay Lohan, and because those sound like Bobcat had like his ear to his neighbors and was like maybe writing that directly into the script, because it sounds like generic bull that someone would just spout because they heard it somewhere. I have a feeling that I had a more a stronger reaction to this movie than you did. You're making me look crazy. Well,
well, I mean, I chose the movie for you to watch. I've seen it before. I mean, it touches, it hits you, it touches you differently than it did me. I mean, yeah, it had an impact on me. Not as strongly as you. You're right about that. Not as strongly. But I do see with that movie what society has come to. It gives you, even though it's a dark comedy, it gives you a realization of what society has come to. We laugh at, like I was saying earlier, we laugh at other people's pain. We cherish stupidity. We praise stupidity. You know, we want to see the next man go down just so we can make some more bucks. So, you know, I just looked at it basis like that, simple as that. I didn't really go into as much depth as you did, because this definitely seems like it really really hit. It hit in certain ways where it hit home, but it also irked you at the same time. So
Well, the movie itself didn't irk me. Just the the things in it that I deal with every day in real life. Those conversations I overhear at work from people who just sound like they're droning out things they've heard elsewhere. And I mean, I'm guilty of a lot of the things in this movie that he talks about. He's like, "When's the last time you had a conversation with someone that wasn't that was an actual conversation, and that it wasn't about pop culture, or it wasn't about something like that?" And I honestly do get bored if somebody tries to tell me the mundane details of their life. I cannot stand it. I my girlfriend, she went to this special effects school, and it was the school was founded by Tom Savini, who's a legendary special effects artist. Tom Savini's friends with Quentin Tarantino. They've worked together a lot. And he was telling a story about Quentin Tarantino where he said, if you talk to Tarantino about anything other than movies, his eyes just glaze over. He has no attention span for it. 24/7, this guy's life is movies. That's all he thinks about. That's all he talks about. I mean, I'm sure there's other things, of course, and he probably has political views. He probably has some religious views, personal relationships with people. But in general, when it comes to having a conversation with him, if it's not about movies, he gets bored. And I feel the same way so often. Unless it's with a friend, I do not care about anything you have to say. Most of the time. It's so many times at work, people tell me about all the different recipes they have for things, or they tell me about. This one guy's telling me about his new tires he's going to get on his car. I don't care. Why do you even think I would find that interesting? Like, I'm not going to tell you when I buy new shoelaces. I'm not going to tell you about when I bought a new T-shirt. I'm not going to tell you about how I like to make my own brand of stir fry. No. Why would you care? Why would you care about that? But something that's in general media, like movies or something, I'll talk about that because that impacts more people than just you. And I don't care what you have to say about some stupid thing, like about why everyone at your other job talks about their clothing and how. Like, I just don't care. I don't care. Like you have to run into that, where people are just talking about mundane things about their daily life that no one could pay you to care about.
I'm guilty of that as well. I mean, of course, here on Post, on Base, there are so many people with so many different issues and problems from what they've been through or what they want to do with their life. And then, especially at work, because I sit in the office at work, and there's so many people that come into the desk asking all these different questions, not even pertaining to what they want to do with. If you're coming into my office, I expect you to have a question or give me something to do that's pertaining to my job.
Right.
Not just asking me random questions or telling me stuff that I really don't want to hear right now. Because all I'm focused on is really getting through the day and getting off work. Like the average person, just want to get off of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through that too, where a lot of people will come to me with their issues, their problems, or just their interest in what they want to do with their life. And at times I find myself like, I really don't care, but if it makes you feel better, I guess just keep going. If it makes you feel better, I'm just going to tune out.
It's like,
so
go ahead.
It does get annoying at times, but sometimes I do take the time to listen because you never know. Some people that you do listen to, it could have a good effect, a positive effect on your life. So it goes back and forth depending on the person that you're listening to, what they have to say. You know, because some people do have that effect on your life that will change you for the better. So.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm generalizing. I'm not being very specific. But what I mean is, like, here's something. I don't think anyone from my work's ever going to see this. They don't know I make these. Nobody else, other than anyone we know, is ever going to see these anyway. But, and I don't even think most of the people we know have seen it. But it's everyone at work talks about kids. I am the only person on my team at work that doesn't have a kid. I'm also probably the only person in the building who doesn't want a kid. I don't think I'd be a good parent. If you hear me rant, I probably wouldn't be a very good parent. I'm not very responsible. And the talking about babysitting bugs me for two reasons. The first reason is that there is no evolutionary reason for me to have a kid. And I don't think I'd be a good one, so I don't want to bring in a kid in this world and have them struggle and go through all these terrible things and me not be able to help them really. Also,
That's very responsible.
oh, thank you. I'm a good parent by not having a kid.
I mean, if you feel you're going to be a piece of shit, then don't bring your child in the world.
Right? But so the the human race is going to continue on whether I have a kid or not. So why should I bother? And unless I'm financially stable or something, that would be different. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. So the reason this bothers me at work is because I think my reasons for not wanting a kid are perfectly valid, and I think they're respectable, but I'm biased. But at work they just keep digging me about it because all they want to talk about are their kids. And they're like, well, what if it happens? What if you just accidentally have a kid? I was like, you don't accidentally have a kid. They're like, well, I had a kid. I didn't plan on it. I was like, well, obviously you didn't plan against it either because you had one. So it wasn't an accident. It was maybe it was a mistake. I'm not saying your child is a mistake, but maybe what happened was a mistake and it led to something that you love and care about, which is wonderful, but it wasn't an accident. And the thing is,
maybe the condom broke. That's an accident.
Yeah, sure. Then you should have been on birth control at the same time. But you can never be too safe. But so they have these BS reasons that they give me. But what the overlying thing is, why are we talking about this at work? Why is this important to you? Why do you want to know this about me? I don't come to work to explore my relationships with people. I come to work to suffer through the day and leave. That's it. Like I think of work as kind of like high school. I went there because I had to. If I didn't have to go to high school, I wouldn't have gone to high school. I have to go to work, and because I need to be able to have a roof over my head and talk about movies on the internet. and so when he's at work and everybody's talking about this stuff and none of it matters, and the one person in the office he actually thinks he has a human connection with gets him fired for that same connection he thinks he has, my head almost exploded because I was like, that's what the office is like. Like, I mean, let's say there's one person in the office who you're actually like, I think me and this person we click. And then they go around and complain about you harassing them, and you can't have a human connection with anyone anymore, and it's so ridiculous. It's much rantier than I wanted it to be. Maybe I won't let this go public. I don't know.
It's pretty sad, but I can see this definitely touched you, really, really hit home. So.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I have no desire to kill anyone. I do not like guns at all. I'm about as liberal as they come. The furthest I go away from being liberal is probably moderate, because I don't think I think people should take responsibility for themselves, but at the same time, I think we should help people. And so, like, there's that scene where people want Medicaid and stuff, and they want health care, and this guy's just throwing money at him. He goes, "Go ahead, communists! Take my money, communists!" It's like, well, no, these people, they need help. They don't make as much money as you do, and as a society, maybe we should give them a little help. I feel that way. But then again, if you're a stupid idiot, like that girl on that TV show, or like that girl's parents who raised her to be that spoiled, you should take responsibility for your actions. Does that mean should you be shot in the head? No. I mean, you should take responsibility for that. Or if you have a kid by accident, you should take responsibility for that. Luckily, a lot of people do. But at least the people I work with, they're all great people, very nice people, but I just can't stand their conversations. but that's as to get away from my rants. The movie, as a movie, very. Robin Williams made a movie with Bobcat Goldthwait called Best Dad Ever, I think it was called, which I still haven't seen, which I might now since I just watched this and liked it so much.
Yeah, it actually recommended that as one of the movies to watch.
Mm-hmm. And when Bobcat was on the Nerdist, he was saying that Robin Williams calls him like Ed Wood Goldthwait or something like that, because I don't think Will. Do you know much about Ed Wood, the filmmaker? Edward D. Wood Jr. Tim Burton made a movie about him.
Not much, no.
Well, he was a director, a really, really bad one. I mentioned him actually on our Room review because he was considered the worst director in the world for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes really bad movies, but he makes them with a lot of heart. He was like Tommy Wiseau before there was Tommy Wiseau. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really know the mechanics of filmmaking, and he would do things without permits, and he would just say, okay, we got to do this, let's go, bye. Like real guerrilla type filmmaking. And apparently Bobcat has a very similar aesthetic when filmmaking, and so that's why Robin Williams, because it's like a real guerrilla style. Like, we don't have the permit to shoot here, so we only get one take, hurry up. Which is sort of madness. And so I was expecting this movie to not be as well shot as it was, but I thought I don't know what the budget was on this, but it looked great. I thought it looked like, again, another movie. I don't understand why why it didn't get a major theatrical release. Well, I guess the subject matter would probably turn a lot of people off, but
yeah,
it looked as good or better than most movies that come out in theaters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really surprised by that, and I thought it was just a really well-made, good movie. And so even if you take my rants and completely ignore them, watch it because of what I said about it's a well-made film, and it deserves more attention than it has, I think.
And we don't have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. We're not psycho killers, just to let you know. He doesn't like guns. I deal with guns all the time since I'm in the military. Really weird, different right there, but we're both calm.
Do you like guns, or is it just you have to deal with guns because you're in the military? Like, if you weren't in the military, would you own a gun? I don't want to get political. I'm just curious what you would say.
At the moment, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Like, all the training that we've done, I will not lie. I had enjoyment, shooting down range and everything, shooting targets. It's fun. It's fun. But does it go into me wanting to shoot somebody or kill somebody? That's a whole different ballgame. Right. But just to be efficient in your job and what you have to do, and be better able to defend yourself or to defend the people that you love and care about, then yeah. I could see myself possibly owning a gun, but I'm not sure yet. Really not sure yet.
Take away the military aspect of it. Would you consider it? Like, let's say you never went to the military. You never were in a situation where you were needed to use a gun. Would you own a gun?
Probably not.
Well, see,
probably
not that different. So, like I said, I mean, I relate to the guy's situation before he starts killing people. Now, I mean, I don't have an ex-wife. I don't have a kid, obviously. So I don't relate to him on that level, but the sort of just trying to get through the day, and it's really tough. I relate to that. And I think a lot of people, the only thing is, a lot of people are perfectly happy to go home and watch American Idol and turn their brains off and just say, okay, the day was worth it because I have this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, to be honest. I may rant and rave about it, but to me, if that's what gets you through the day, it's what gets you through the day. And that's fine. That's why I don't agree with going out and killing people. Like, my mom, she loved American Idol, and she would vote for American Idol. And that's, she worked hard. So if that's what she needed to do to make working worth it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You have anything? I feel like I took this away from you. Do you have anything else?
Oh, no. I'm just sitting back and enjoying the moment here. I mean, you really had a lot to say because it impacted you. Like that movie really hit you. So I don't mind you taking over for right now, just seeing how everything goes. Because I know there's going to be times where a movie that you have me watch is really going to hit me, and I'm just going to take over. I probably will. I have a lot to say. Because then
I got to think of a movie that might cause you to do that.
Yeah. Definitely think of a movie that's going to cause me to do that. It's probably going to be something that's going to like piss me off, but make me question a lot at the same time.
Absolutely. And I'll try to figure something out. So that way I'm not the only ranty one.
So you're not the only one that seems crazy?
Right, exactly. The things I'm talking about, I think more people can relate to this movie than let on. So I'm not saying anything new in what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the movie isn't saying anything new.
A lot of people can relate to this movie in different aspects, just that we don't talk about it. We choose not to talk about it. We are just a select few that choose to take a step and talk about it and go in depth about it. So, but everybody has those thoughts in their heads certain days, like, okay, I'm just so frustrated, I'm just so pissed off with this person or that, or what's been going on. I just want to do something about it. I want to hit this person. Everybody has those days. And for the ones that say they never do, they're the biggest liars. I will say that. You're the biggest liar if you say that you don't have one of those days where you're just so stressed, you're so done with everything that you just want to snap.
Yeah.
We just choose not to. We just choose not to.
And it's going to come out someday in those people.
Yeah.
And those are people who usually end up like Frank, who ends up coming to work with a gun. Yeah.
I'll just make sure that I will be that friend that was always there, like, hey, Frank, how you doing? You want some candy?
That brings me to something I wanted to bring up. This is the last thing I'll bring up. Is, again, somebody at work, because these are the only really, other than my girlfriend and you and my family, these are the only people I really have interactions with, which sounds depressing, but it's not. Somebody said that we have lost compassion for mankind because her kids were watching a horror movie and were laughing when somebody died. And I did not respond to that because she seemed very upset. And I would love to show her this movie as an example of why what she said is wrong. Because these kinds of movies serve as sort of a way of getting around doing what Frank is doing. Seeing a movie that talks openly about it and that goes into detail about how this kind of stuff can fuck you up is a great way to get that out of your system, just watching it. It's the word is eluding me, and I hate it, but I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but it does provide something to you that's primal. That's why I think horror movies, when done right, are important. Because they take, and this isn't a horror movie, but a lot of people fucking die in this movie. But I think when you watch a horror movie and you laugh, you're not laughing because someone's life is being taken away. You're laughing because some tension is being released from you. I think they're very psychologically healthy. And I think that's why the argument that violence in cinema causes more violence holds no water whatsoever. Because not that I want to go and do these things, but you get frustrated. And you get angry, and you watch someone else who's way more frustrated than you are, and way more angry than you are, and goes out and does something like this, and you're like, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe life isn't that bad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, at least I'm not going out and gunning down teenagers or any number of people he kills. So there you go. Make you feel better about your life, maybe.
Well, there you go. That's our review of God Bless America. It's fun just after all we've just been saying, end it with God Bless America.
All right, so I promise whatever we watch next week, I'm not sure what it'll be yet, but hopefully we won't be. I won't be quite as ranty and alienating, but only like 3 people watch them, and we're 2 of them, so it doesn't really matter. But until then, I am.
All of a sudden, 1,000 views. Like,
watch this guy break down.
Right on camera.
He just has a meltdown. But, no, there are people who rant way worse than I. Have you seen those videos of?
Oh yeah.
What is it? I can't remember what they're called, but they wear like the Guy Fawkes masks, like from V for Vendetta.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Come on, dude, just knock it off. It's not that bad. Whatever they thought it's not that bad. Anyway, so until we watch something else, I'm knocking over videotapes. That was an accident. Sorry. I'm non-critic Dustin. With me as always.
Non-critic Will.
And we're 2 non-critics, and maybe one day we'll have a sign-off, but right now we don't. So bye.
Bye.